question?
Sure.
So our students, to have an active background check on all of them, if any of our kids wanted to volunteer for your program, you would do a separate background check, or you would just use ours? Or
You don't have to. If the university would be willing to say they had a background check on this date, on their letterhead, then it's like an all clear.
okay,
Your students will have to sign off to release that information to us, I believe.
because they're thoroughly checked out.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, so we do, and we do use, we have relationships with a number of organizations in the community that we will work with in that way.
Okay.
Yeah, so it just, yeah,
That's great.
because it's an expense.
Can I ask you something? I know you turn people down. What about dogs? Have you turned some of them down?
If they're not appropriate to be a therapy team, they don't get through our program.
Oh.
And we're going to talk about our classwork that goes on a couple of slides from here, but each of our team goes through a thorough evaluation to make sure they're appropriate to be a pet therapy team in our community. And once they go through that evaluation, we may determine that they're not going to be good for an environment. Now, do we have children come into our training program? No, because the liability is too great. But we have Susie. I apologize if anybody's name is Sue or Susie. I clearly apologize. But we have a little 26-inch blonde doll that is electrical tied onto a cane, because it works, and she's our child.
Oh.
We use her in class.
You can't use a real kid.
Because we can't use a real kid with these dogs that are in training because we don't know. But let me tell you, if that dog reacts to that 26-inch big child, chances are we can say to the handler, the owner, how's your dog with kids? They don't really like them. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Let me tell you another story. As you talked about, dogs. We went through the certification. The team they'd have to take a test at the end of their training. And the handler's dog bit our evaluator. The woman turned around, left our facility, and went to another facility not too far away to get tested because she was going to do the reading program. That's what she wanted to do with her dog. And her dog happened to be a golden retriever. Trying to find out our trainer was helping out that particular facility for what they were doing, and our trainer pulled the owner aside and said, you don't want to do this. You really don't want to do this. So we do go through a screening process, not only to start them, but every other year our teams have to recertify, and we'll talk about that. So some stories about the impact of reading. Last summer, we have a couple that goes to Northeast Library up on Military Cutoff, and they were working with a little boy all summer. And there in the children's library up there, they have a room that has glass windows on it so the parents can sit there and observe. It's another thing, our teams, even though we go through all these stages to make sure they're appropriate, we don't want our teams alone with the children. We want a school person there. We want somebody else. If it's a school volunteer, it's the library. We want somebody else to be within visual distance of the team working together. And the team came out, and the mother was there. It was the end of the summer season, and she said, I just want to thank you for spending so much time with my son. He doesn't read. And our person said, what do you mean he doesn't read? My son has autism. He doesn't read. And she had to say to her, ma'am, your son's been reading to Catalina all summer. And the mother was like in tears. So they set it up that there would be one more visit, that the child would come and the mother could actually observe and hear her son reading to her pet therapy team. Because she had never heard her child read aloud. She thought he couldn't. Other unexpected things that happened. One of our
Charlotte, stop crying. Executive should make us cry.
Yeah.
Charlotte's going to cry when it started.
No, it's not. It's not my objective to make you cry. But the impact can be so great and it's so powerful, and you don't realize it because it's just a four-legged dog. So who would think that all this would be happening with just a dog? We have had reports of sexual abuse being reported to our team. We had a child on Thanksgiving, was supposed to go to his father's and his girlfriend's, he didn't want to go. He was obnoxious that day, he was out of control. The teacher wanted to pull him, we're not allowed to read to the dog, and our team said, no, please let him come in and read. He may need this. And what they found out, he didn't want to read, all he wanted to do was bury his face in Bunker's fur and cry. And finally, our person, I hate to admit this, but we as handlers are not always quite wound up right here, because we talk through our dogs, you know. Bunker wants to know what's wrong. You know, so you're coming to the child level. Elementary school is that prime age where they'll believe the dog is really listening to the read, even though the dog is snoring. So you can talk through your dog. And I turned to find out that the father hit the child frequently. Well, our role as teams, we have to report that to the school because that's what the child told us. The child didn't go to the father's house that Thanksgiving. We don't know the end result of it. That's all we know. He didn't have to go to his father's house for Thanksgiving. What more happened from that, we don't know. But anything can happen in these sessions, so our teams are fairly well prepared. Okay, if you want to move us onward. Okay, so how do we prepare our teams? They are prepared for the work they're doing. Our therapy teams go through a 6-week comprehensive course. We just started one 2 weeks ago. Last night was week 2. They do about an hour's worth of book work and about an hour's worth of hands-on training with their dog. So it's an individual and it's their pet. And they can be anything. They can be small, they can be large. This class we have, you know, a little dachshund and we have, you know, a 75-pound golden retriever. So it really just depends. It's all over the place. We've had the Great Danes, we've had the Mastiffs, we've had the 180-pound Anatolian Shepherds. But they come through this class, and there's 3 of us teaching, 4 of us. The 3 that teach the hands-on, collectively, they have about 30 years experience working in the therapy team. We've seen it, we've done it, we've been through it. We teach our teams how to protect their dog. We teach our teams how to get the dog as close to the person as possible so that a person with a physical disability can actually get access to the dog. We teach our teams how to interact with all populations of people that we may be serving. We do a lot in our hands-on training that we call scenes from the dog bowl, which means it's something that we've experienced out in the field and we've written them down and we pull them out of the dog bowl and one of our trainers plays it out and we're getting it's a lot of role playing, getting our participants to how would they deal with this situation. And then we're giving them tips and techniques. I've been a therapy team for almost, 8 years, I think, something like that. I'm on my 2nd dog. And we visited hospice, and his very first visit at hospice as a new therapy team, we got certified in the spring. And yes, I had to go through the course as well, the hands-on portion of it. I'm in a patient's room. The dog lays his head on the bed next to the person. He's a 75-pound Airedale Terrier. And the patient starts crying. I've been with family members as they've cried at hospice, but never had the patient do that. And she was nonverbal. The family was there to kind of help me through this. And it was just all coming to reality of she would never see her dog again, that sort of thing. And we teach our handlers, Angel up, take leash. This thing is magical. And whatever you're feeling as a handler reads down the leash and they feel it too. So he was feeling my emotion as well, my uncertainty of dealing with the situation. Good girl, sit. Thank you, down. Don't worry. Okay, so our teams have
Be adorable, is that what you're
be adorable. Yeah. She got that part. She didn't need to be trained for that. So our teams have to recertify every other year. The dog has to be kept up to date on grooming. We teach them about, parasites, dog parasites, diseases that go between dog and people called zoonosis. We teach them about if you use topical flea and tick preventative, you don't put it on 24 hours before you're going to a visit because that stuff's yucky. We teach them about having, it is yucky, what an official word. We teach them about grooming your dog appropriately. She was bathed this morning, only because I ran out of time yesterday to do it, so. So let's tell you a little bit about Canines for Service. You know, how come I'm up here acting like I know what I'm doing? Geez, maybe well, we don't know. Our main goal, and the organization was started to provide people with disabilities more mobility and independence through the use of quality training services. That's what started it on December 1st, 1996. Rick had been volunteering for a national organization in St. Louis. He moved to Wilmington. There wasn't an organization to get involved in. He started praying about it. Oh, can I say that in a school? Anyway, that's the reality. That's the story. He started praying about it. He actually got in an argument with God. I don't know enough about starting a nonprofit. I don't know enough about training service dogs. I don't know. I don't have money. I don't. And then one day, 2 checks arrived in his mail that he wasn't expecting. One was from a presentation that he had done about service dogs to a Kiwanis club, and the other was a certification check he received because he was a trainer at Pittsburgh, and pet obedience training. And the next day, they called the telephone number and they went up to Maple Hill, North Carolina, and out of a litter of 13, they picked one incredible dog, and this was their temperament test at the time. Nope, too small. No, too small. I kind of like this guy. 13 dogs later, they went back to dog number 4, and that's who became the very first service dog for Canines for Service. At that time, we were named Carolina Canines for Service. This year, we officially and legally changed our name and dropped the Carolinas off of it because we provide services freely in the Carolinas. We have 4 program areas: Canines for Service, that's our primary service dog training program for people with physical disabilities that are not veterans. And we have our Canines for Veterans program. Our Canines for Veterans program, we take shelter dogs, we put them in a military prison. They're trained by military prisoners to serve our veterans with mobility issues, post-traumatic stress, and traumatic brain injury. Our prisoners earn a U.S. Department of Labor Certificate of Apprenticeship in Service Dog Technician. We're the 2nd service dog organization in the country to provide that sort of certification. We've graduated 13. Oh, that's in the next slide. Our therapy program, we started in 2002, and the literacy program quickly spun off of that in 2002. We are an accredited member organization. How many of you in your future careers have to receive some sort of accreditation, credentials, teaching credentials? All of them. We didn't have to. As a nonprofit organization, we chose to. We are one of 54 organizations in the United States that are accredited. And it was a boatload of work, guys. Boatload of work. Well worth it. We've placed 65 service dogs.
Basic question, does the dog become, like let's say you had a dog and you get a service dog, do you have both dogs in the home, or that's an individual case?
That is an organization by organization scenario. We will allow one other dog pet in the home if someone is in need of a service dog. We do want the service dog to be the youngest dog in the house. In other words, if somebody calls us today and say, I got a puppy, we're going to go like, and we won't say, we want to say that. We answer all the polite things, but we allow one other dog in the home. That's it. It's a do as we say, not as we do, because my husband and I have 7 dogs, counting his service dog and Angel. Oh, that's easy. We had 10 when we combined our houses. We've had some seniors. Yeah, 10. None of them less than 50 pounds at the time, mind you. Do the math. So our program recently was approved by the Veterans Administration to be an educational assistance program. Anybody in here a veteran? You know what that means, right? That means if we brought a veteran into our apprenticeship program, we have to pay them a wage as they learn a new job skill, but they can use their GI benefits for their living expenses. So So it's a great opportunity. We just got word of that at the end of July. We've trained and assessed more than 500 animal-assisted therapy teams. We're in 4 locations for our therapy program. We're here in Wilmington. We're in Raleigh, Rayford, Smithfield. Actually, we're in 5 locations. And I can't count. And Charleston, South Carolina. We have a class starting down there tonight, actually. Our volunteers, probably of that 500 that we've assessed over time, there's probably about 200, maybe 250 that are still active. I mean, things happen. The dog ages out, the person ages out, they get tired of it. They find out it's not everything they thought it would be, and they quit. We log about 4,500 volunteer hours every month, and we've provided over $7 million in services, and that's kind of all total. That's the therapy program, the literacy program, the service dogs, the education that we're providing to the military personnel.
Question for you. So if you were a teacher or a tutor, or if we were the Ed Lab and wanted to enlist your services, we pay for it or we don't pay for it?
We don't pay for it.
How about that? Okay.
We don't pay for it. We're a nonprofit. So how do we do our work if we're not getting paid to do our work? That's a big question, isn't it? Yeah. We do fundraisers, we write grants, and we rely on individual donations. And services like this, coming out to this class, it's educational. We're here in the community, we're part of your community, you're part of our community. So we feel it's part of our role to provide an opportunity for you to learn what we do and how we do it as best we can. And I think next is a video.
Oh, okay.
And that's cool. It should run.
I don't know what to do if it doesn't.
It was.
You guys, this is about a 5-minute video, and then we'll,
The first time I saw Isaac, I felt like a Christmas tree being turned on. This electricity just went all through me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's my dog. He's gonna help me. And I mean, we just bonded instantaneously, and we have been inseparable, you know, from there.
My name is Leslie Nicole Smith, and I'm a retired Army captain, and I'm actually the 6th recipient of the service dog Isaac from Canines for Veterans. We were just bonded. It was a natural fit, and we have been inseparable since, and he is my best buddy, my best friend. I rely on him 24/7, and he has just changed my life forever.
In the military during the Vietnam era, we didn't have the luxury of coming back and having warm welcomes. And now we're sending guys back into harm's way and being injured and coming back. And I think it's our duty and our privilege to be able to provide everything that we can provide for them to make their lives as close to normal as possible.
Part of the magic of the reading program with the elementary school children is the age.
I think Catalina is a really smart dog. She even knows when I don't get a word right.
Elementary school children are at the age they believe they're reading to the dog. The dog is really focusing and listening on them.
Well, I like reading to Catalina because she makes me feel good about myself. She's a great listener and she never makes fun of me.
Of course, we teach our team some different techniques to work with the children as well to get the dog to focus on them. And we can teach something we call paw stop.
Well, if I mess up, she'll put her paw on the book if she doesn't understand what I say.
So if the handler doesn't think that the child is really comprehending what they're doing, they can give their dog a subtle command and the dog will put their paw on the book and stop the child while they're reading. And then the handler can do something like, you know, Angel doesn't really understand what that says. Can you try to explain that to her and help her understand it better?
And I really think she likes me when I read to her.
They don't even know they're learning. That's the magic of it. For the children that are in the program, they're seeing the children progressing their reading skills by leaps and bounds. And it rolls over into other studies. Because once they learn to read, that's the foundation for everything.
Canines for literacy and canines for therapy really go hand in hand. It's really about the emotional connection that the kids or the patients are making with these dogs. There is a bond there, and it really is therapeutic for both of them. We train just regular, ordinary, everyday people with their dogs to be pet therapy teams, and those teams get to go into places where people are down or having a hard time, and these dogs come in and they lift them up. They bring them, even if it's just a short 5 minutes of happiness and love and peace, so that they can continue to heal.
Delta May, when she was a puppy, she was a wild little thing. Never thought she'd actually be a therapy dog. And she was about 2 years old, and I had a really good friend, Carol, who was battling breast cancer. And after 7 years, she had gotten the terminal diagnosis. And Delta May really knew the difference between Carol, who was very fragile and weak, and Carol's husband, Gene. And she'd play robustly with Gene and gently go over to Carol, put her paws up on the sofa, and give Carol a little kiss on the cheek. And she'd just sit there with her and lay there with her, and the two of them would fall asleep. And Carol would pour her heart out to this dog. And Carol's final wish was for Delta May to lay by her side when she passed away. And we were able to give Carol that gift. The Canines for Service program provides people with physical limitations a service dog. The dogs are trained by volunteers. We place a puppy in their home with them, and then they come to regular classes to learn how to train the dog. The dog will learn upwards of 90 commands to be able to help that person that they'll be eventually given to. They can do things as simple as pick up a dropped item, which if you're in a wheelchair, you're not able to bend over and pick up that pen you dropped for the 10th time that day. Or as complex as opening a door. They can turn on lights. They can retrieve a remote control or a telephone on command, a bottle of water from a refrigerator to help somebody if they need to take morning medications. They can pull a wheelchair. They can load a washer and unload a dryer. Anything that an able-bodied person takes for granted every single day, our dogs can be trained to assist somebody experiencing that mobility limitation. The service dog is valued at $40,000 and provided free of charge to our clients, only because of the support of people in our communities. For us, we can take a rescue dog that was destined for euthanasia and turn it into something that is changing a person's life and giving them independence.
I was meant to be connected with Canines for Veterans. It was time for Isaac to come into my life. I'm just so thankful and blessed every day I have him, and that he brings, again, the confidence and freedom for me to get through each day.
We are Canines for Service. Help us give the gift of independence. I always like to end this, and you see it on film, but I'll take a couple minutes and show you just a couple things, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. Angel, Heel, sit, wait. This is a challenge chip. It's something that's very common in the military. We have our own version of it. Angel, take. Okay, so like asking, she gets a paycheck too. Okay, Angel side. Now you really should leave it. Wait.
She gave
Water.
it.
We'll go a little further. Angel, heel. Sit. Wait. Angel, take. That is a dime I just threw on the floor.
My dog would so be full of change by now.
It all comes at me.
It's like a magic trick.
Take leash. Take leash. That's our program. That's what we do. We just play with dogs all day. Thank you. We do have volunteer opportunities. Most of our volunteer opportunities right now are for help in the office, help with events. We do have some events coming up. I put some literature out here. Certainly, if you have your own, if you're not living on campus, you have your own pet, you want to come through and be a therapy team, our next class will start up in January. It's 6 weeks. If I know you've come through, there is a course fee. If I know you've come through this course, we'll offer you a discount. You just need to jar me, remind me, whatever. We do need literacy teams. That's one of the biggest needs we have in this community. We have so many more requests for having our literacy teams in schools, in the library than we can even meet. Not just in this county, but Duplin County, Pender County, parts of Brunswick County as well for places that aren't covered. So there's a lot of need out there. But our greatest need is helping us with events right now, coming out, supporting us, organizing with us to do things like that. We do need help in the office. It may not be a weekly commitment, but we need people to come in and help with different key things when we have things going on. So I'll entertain any questions.
Why does the service dog have to be the youngest dog in the house?
It just becomes an age difference because the young dogs are very puppyish and very playful. So if you make sure that the service dog is the youngest dog in the house, and this is our organization's opinion and the way we work and roll, then you're not going to have that, hopefully not going to have that constant play scenario going on. The same reason why we won't place a dog in a house with more than one other dog, because you become a pack mentality and there's too much play. So the dog's not going to actually work and do its skills, and it's going to lose its skills if the person that receives the dog can't reinforce what it needs to do. And I don't mean reinforce necessarily in a negative, harsh manner, but just making sure the dog does what it's told to do when it's told to do. Another question? Yes, sir.
Why the leash on the mouth?
Okay. This is a halty collar. It's like a horse bridle where her head goes, she has to go. It's sort of like going in, if you work in a facility that requires a uniform where you have to wear khakis and a certain polo or another kind of uniform. She has her uniform on and she knows she's working. Trust me.
Interesting.
We take that all off of her and she's just like the regular dog, like ready to go until I give her a command. She's really actually quite good. Because we work with a lot of people with physical disabilities, controlling a dog at their strongest point, which is their neck and their shoulders, can become difficult if they have weak upper limbs or have balance issues. Therefore, put them on a halty collar. It's very humane. Angel up. She can eat, she can drink, she can open her mouth, she can do everything she needs to do. She can kiss. And yet I have total control of her. So if I had upper body weakness or balance issues, one slight correction, and she's done. And it's very little, and it's very humane. Our organization does not use chokes, chains, prongs, or electronic collars on them. They're not positive reward to us. Everything we do is through positive reward, petting, loving, treats. Our dogs do get a lot of treats. They're trained with a lot of treats. When our client first receives a service dog, they'll be giving the dog a lot of treats, and then it becomes what we call random reward. So one time she could be getting this, or could be getting this, or could be asked to lap, and another time she'll actually get a physical treat. Because she has to watch her girly figure.
You try to walk a lot after you get all those treats.
Well, and so what happens to a client receiving a service dog who's not very ambulatory? We have a couple of very creative clients who have power chairs. They charge up their power chairs. She takes her dog for a walk twice a day in her power chair.
Yeah.
And she gets up some pretty good speed to give him some good exercise, so, you know, be creative. Or they can work with a dog walker if they need to get the dog some exercise. She also takes it to a closed-in ball field, and she has upper body ability, so she can throw use a chucker and throw the ball.
That would be one of my questions too, like, do you need dog walkers? Like, are those the things that you?
We don't at this time. We don't currently have a facility and house dogs. That's our goal. One of our fundraisers is raise the roof. If we raise the roof, we want to be in 8,000 square foot of space with kennel.
Wow.
Then to be able to start, bring our veterans in to teach them how to train the service dogs.
Fantastic.
So when you say it's like a free service, I mean, does that include like food and vet fees?
For our recipients receiving the service dog, no. The dog is free. They have to be able to pay for the dog once it's in there.
That makes sense.
So pay for the food, veterinary care, heartworm preventative, flea and tick control.
And like if they, do you like keep checks to make sure they are on this and they're not deviating?
Part of our credentialing is the fact that we have to have a defined client follow-up process. We own our dogs for 5 years, which means we carry the legal liability on our dogs for 5 years. And we have a follow-up process for 5 years. That's also the commitment we make to our client that if their need changes, we come back in to help them with their needs and retrain the dog in some ways. Great example, I talked about Edmund early on. Edmund unfortunately passed away several years ago, but as his MS progressed, he moved from being semi-ambulatory to being in a power wheelchair. And there came a point where he couldn't even lift his legs up onto the footboard of his wheelchair. Our team went in and taught the dog how to take either his shoelace or the bottom of his pant leg and lift his leg up onto the wheelchair for him. So we do have that. That's our commitment. That's part of our credentialing.
That's interesting.
Other questions?
So if we, sorry, go ahead, you go first.
I was going to ask, because you said the veteran dogs were from the like rescue dogs. Are because you in the video said you bring puppies in for the service dogs. Are those also like rescue dogs too? Or are they like?
About 80% of our dogs in our civilian program here in Wilmington are rescue. We do not have a breeding program. Our belief is that there is more than enough supply of dogs out there that are more than qualified to do this work. The expense, the cost, you have a litter of 12 and maybe really only 2 to 4 are service dog material. And then what do you do with the rest of it? Yeah, you can sell them and make money, but you know, we don't know enough, nor are we going to take the time to know enough about genetics to really have a really good breeding program. Therefore, we're using rescues. We work with the local rescue groups, the local shelters. We do accept some private donations. We do have a number of dogs that are just kind of that, oops. I really didn't think she'd get pregnant on the first heat.
That's what you mean by
And we had a litter of puppies. So if we have a need, if we have foster families waiting to raise and train a dog for us, then we'll evaluate puppies. We like to evaluate several in a litter. We do have criteria about them, and they're usually 7 to 11 weeks of age. That's for our program here in Wilmington. Our veterans program, 90% of the dogs are rescues. They're coming out of New Hanover Animal Control. We work with Adopt an Angel. We work with Brace. We work with Myrtle Beach. We did work in Carteret County when we were at Camp Lejeune. We're not there anymore. We're down in Charleston. We work with several groups in the Charleston area as well. And we've gotten a dog from as far as Oklahoma.
Wow. And which military prison are they trained?
We're in the Charleston Naval Station break.
Okay.
Is where we're at.
That's just fascinating. What a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, you know, we are the only program that's in a military prison where the dog goes in and completes training with the client, and the training is done with the prison handler. There's another program out in Miramar, out in San Diego. They train part-time. They have a trainer that goes in once every couple of weeks to work with the team. We have a trainer in the facility 4 to 5 days a week with our prisoners. So they're learning actual job skills. 99% of the military prisoners that are incarcerated are going to be released. Let's give them some skills. So is it successful? Even before we had our apprenticeship program in place, one of our prisoners was released from prison from Lejeune, He lived in the greater Raleigh community. He went into one of the retail pet stores, one of the large big box retail stores. He got himself a job as a dog obedience trainer because of the skills he learned in prison with us. He is now general manager of that store. So, 3 years later, he never thought he'd have a career in a dog-related field, and here he is. So, you know, it's changing lives kind of all the ways around.
And if we have students who are interested in perhaps going through your training program to start to be a part of READ, that's in the brochure that we'll give out.
There's general information there, there's information on our website,
Okay.
and you can always call the office, speak with Laura. I'm the harder one to get a hold of, honestly, because I'm on the road doing presentations a lot, like I'm in Raleigh on Friday.
Okay.
I'm spending 4 hours on the road for a 3 to 3. It's okay, that's what I do.
But we have a couple in here who think that might.
Okay, yeah. Our next therapy class will be coming up in January.
That's great.
The
And it's
end-
local.
And it's local. We're right over right now we're off 23rd Street near the airport, not too far from the airport. Maybe by January, we'll be looking for bigger space, I don't know. We'll be moving at some point. So, yes?
Now, like dogs that you have for the READ program, it's obviously not as strict as like a service dog.
It's not as
So
strict.
what kind of criteria do you look for?
We're looking for a dog that's very social. They have to be at least 1 year of age, good basic obedience, including a canine good citizens. If they're a rescue dog, it has to have lived with the owner for at least 6 months, because you need to know the dog. That relationship really is about the bond between the person and the dog. Delta May in that feature, she is my Airedale. She's retired. She's 11 and a half years old. She's very sick. She's cardiomyopathy. Probably won't have her that much longer. But if I didn't have the bond with her, she wouldn't have done half the things she did at the hospice care center with me. She attended more deaths than any dog on record in their facility. She was the one, we were on call. If family or a family member wanted a dog by their side when they passed away, we were the team they called. Did I ever think for a minute when I became a pet veterinarian, I'd be going into the hospice center, where there are people dying? Heck, no. Anybody that knows me would have told you that's the last place Pat is going. She's going to stay away from there. You just don't know what pathogens are down. But it has to be a well-trained dog, good obedience, good relationship. And any size goes, from tiny, tiny teacup. Said our biggest dog has been 180-pound Anatolian
Like you
Shepherd.
don't have a problem with kids being like scared of certain breeds or anything like that?
That was gonna be one of my questions too. What about the kids who aren't comfortable with, or I guess they would be part of the program, or they would learn to?
Well, we do handle that. I mean, one of the things is our dogs, any breed goes. So our dogs have gone through training. We know their temperament, that they're going to be good with children going out there. We have had children that have decided at the beginning of the school year, they really wanted to be part of the program, but they didn't want to sit next to the dog.
Oh.
So we've had them, the child sitting over here and the dog over
That's
here.
great.
And then by the end of the school year, where are they?
Yeah.
Together. We may make some accommodations and decide to switch out the team for that child. Usually we have 2 or more teams in a school, so we might have a lab and we might have, something else, I don't know. So we do try to accommodate that. But we also do things that help to educate about the breed, that it's not the breed, it's how they're brought up. And that's really an important component of what we do as well, to teach about different dog breeds, and they all can be friendly.
So if with that scenario, have y'all ever done a pit bull?
Mhm.
See, I have a pit, and everybody's like, oh, such a bad guy. And I'm like, he is the sweetest dog that I mean.
Yeah, don't tell her, but she's probably lab. We don't know what she is. She's Labrador traveling salesman. We don't know. I think we do have one that's our therapy team. Any breed does. They gotta love people. They've gotta love going places with you. You've gotta have a good bond with them. If you don't have good basic obedience with them, you gotta get it. Because our therapy course is really an intermediate to advanced level course. We don't spend a lot of time on obedience. We want to know that your dog has it, and you can get them down and sit and walk nice on a leash and not bark at everybody in the room. But it's not about what the dog looks like. It's about the personality and the bond and how social they are. That's what the therapy program's really about. So any breed goes.
Let's say you're a teacher in the school and you heard about this program because your intern told you about it. They call you and they request you and there's a waiting list right now, or like off the top of your head, what schools are you in?
Wrightsville Beach, Wrightsboro. We may be back down in Parsley Elementary, but not for the literacy, more for special needs, special ed. I'm not actually sure what other schools, because we're still sorting that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really if teachers could call you, or even if UNCW Ed Lab calls
Right.
you, because most of these students are tutoring in the Ed Lab in this exact scenario. And
Okay.
so,
If you're in the school and you're talking to your reading specialists, your special eds, whatever they are, they can contact our office and talk with us. We do have a waiting list. It depends on how many people are available, how many teams are appropriate to do the therapy program, the literacy program particularly, or even be in the school with children. Because I'm a team with my 75-pound Airedale. He's not what I would want to bring into the school. He looks like a big old teddy bear. If I put him in a down and a child comes down to his level, he's not happy, he doesn't feel secure. So I know as his person, that's not what situation I'm going to put him in. He's better in an adult situation, in an assisted living or hospice, which is mainly adults. Not often do we run into a lot of children, or I can deal with them for short periods of time, knowing what I know.
okay.
So, it really takes the right team. I know definitely we're in Wrightsboro and Wrightsville Beach. I'm not sure.
Okay. I mean, these students in less than a year will be in schools, and they're going to know something now that their teachers don't even know about.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah. And there's a lot of resource out there. Go to our website. We have the link to Intermountain Therapy Dogs.
Okay.
They're the ones that created the program. They're kind of the gurus about the READ program.
Okay.
They have a lot of great videos up on YouTube, on their YouTube account. And that's where I pulled the one you saw today.
Okay.
So that's a great resource as well to look at.
Okay. Go ahead.
Do you you said that you're trained, but do you have actually teachers that have their own dogs? They have great principals that will allow it, that they bring into the class? Because
That's a
I know
great
I want to
question.
teach behavioral students, and that could be the distance symbol, and you calm down next to the dog rather than punch this kid right now.
We do. Our insurance is volunteer insurance. So if you're a therapy team, you only come under our liability insurance when you're volunteering.
Yeah.
So not in your normal 8 to 5, 9 to 5,
That makes
whatever,
sense.
not your
Okay.
normal job. However, if you become a therapy team and you're trained, and your school principal and your school want to back you and put behind you liability insurance, that would be up to them to allow you to come in
Great question.
and work. There are things you absolutely need to consider. Our service dogs are trained and they're conditioned to work a long period of time during the day. Your pets generally are not.
Right.
Where are they right now? I can tell you where mine are. They're like this on the sofa, really, or on the bed. So when you have a situation like that and you're working a how many hour school day,
Great point.
you have to have accommodations for your dog to have downtime and rest time, because they can't be going all the time. And that does not necessarily mean under your desk, where the kids can still come up and bug your dog. And you don't want to put your dog in a situation that, it could be not good. So those are things to really think about if you're going to go into that. Our liability insurance won't cover you using your dog in a full-time capacity.
So would that still be a therapy situation, or is that a service dog that just
No,
does
it is
therapy?
not a service dog, because a service dog is a one-on-one relationship
great.
with the
Okay.
person that it serves.
That helps out.
They are therapy dogs.
But could you still teach the therapy dog to do things like bring pencils to desks and
I
things
call
like
those
that?
tricks.
But yes.
Yeah, you could teach tricks. You could. Skills for a service dog, tricks for, a lot of our dogs do tricks. They'll do high fives, they'll roll over, they'll, you name it. The one little guy carries in his own toys to go, carries in his book. and he's gonna read, so it's kind of cute, yeah. But I mean, kids love that.
Yeah.
And kids love to be able to know how you work with the dog. I mean, I can do things and take her out when I go to elementary schools to do presentations. If I want to have a child do something with her, I'm going to be standing behind Cuno, and I'm going to tell her to sit. I'm going to give her the, the hand signal for sit. So it works. Angel, take leash. Yes. Okay, thank you. All right, who wants to pet her?
I bet all of them, so.
Make your rounds.
So what I'll do is I'll pass out the brochures for people who are interested. I don't want to waste them if you're not interested, so I'll come around and give you those. And then, don't be shy over here. You can see the dogs if you want to see her. She's so sweet.
All the dogs stayed neutered.
All the dogs are spayed and neutered. All our service dogs have hip
So Catherine's
evaluations
going to give you one of these for sure.
hip for hip dysplasia. Our
I
therapists
do
don't
always
have
ask
to be
that. If
spayed
you ever
and
have a
neutered.
cold, I don't
However, they can't mark in a facility. They wouldn't be qualified. Get out of there.
So if you're
And,
interested, I'll pass out these, Catherine, I'll pass out
obviously
these.
female and
And, so in this row, who wants a brochure?
Most of ours are. Most of our chicks are spayed and neutered.
Sarah is here, you guys interested at all? I don't want to waste the brochure if you're not.
Yeah.
What counties are you, what counties do you serve? Look how happy Joe is.
Barely.
Of course. You guys, before we cool down, can we thank Pat so much for her time? So where's Alyssa? All right, Alyssa's gonna organize, cool us off. So my reminders to you, don't forget your next chapter. I feel like we're okay with after we cool off, going home. I'm not sure I'd be ready to have class now for our last half hour. So go ahead and keep up with your text responses. I did not send any love notes this week, but do go back and look at the requirements and the directions on it. I'm not making eye contact with anyone for a reason, okay? Go ahead and look at the directions for the text responses and make sure you're hitting all of those prompts, please. Some of you are getting a little loosey-goosey, which I start to assume you're either out of time, you're not reading, or you're not really giving the class the attention it needs because I'm not doing notes in class or I'm not giving you a quiz grade, and I don't want to think that. I just want to feel like you're still reading because it's going to make you a better teacher and connect to your tutor kids. Most of the text responses are perfect. You're following the prompts. It's clear that you're reading and gaining from the reading. You're disagreeing with the reading. You're agreeing with the reading. So just make sure, go back and look at those directions. I try to post them with the assignment that you're hitting them. There was no reason to send love notes this week. I was just kind of like, So hear that in your heart, and if you need, and I'm not making eye contact for a reason, I promise. So, and then move on. Pay attention to your text response this week. Also, our chains, you've all started reading chains. Please make sure you're reading chains. Are you having trouble getting it?
Finished it.
Aha! So now you know what the brand means. So, did you just get there?
Don't say word.
Yeah. It's a great book. And so I'm emailing with Laurie right now. She's going to try and be with us. She's traveling. And so not in person, it will be by Skype. She lives in upstate New York. But she's working on it. She's very, very, very busy. But we've been emailing a little bit back. She's a friend of mine.
I was
And so
heartbroken that it is a series.
it's a
Now I
series.
have to read.
It's a series. There's 2 more. She's not finished with the 3rd yet. The second one I have in my office. It's called Forged.
Would you read the second
So-
one for our book list?
Oh, that's not a bad idea. That could be your second. I would encourage you to read in multiple genres so that you're not just reading historical fiction, but of the 3 books, so we have 1 historical fiction, you might do 2 historical fiction, and then make sure you do a realistic novel or a science fiction or a fantasy. Try to read even outside of your comfort zone. So that is absolutely an option. But I would say, wouldn't that be nice just in your private time, and then maybe do 2 from our list, but that's, my way of not saying no. Yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if you guys know this, but down Market Street, down past college, there's a place called the Used Bookery, and it has some of the books on that list, and they're like $2. So,
Jamie, always giving us good.
Always good advice from
I read
Jamie.
so many books that I always take them there, and they give me money.
Well, and you can sell your books, yeah. And don't forget, my office is always available to come peruse my bookshelves to see if there's anything you want to read off my shelves. I've got 4 shelves in my office. I'm at 340. If the door's locked, Ms. Registrar will let you in. There are almonds on the desk, Jamie can testify. So you're welcome to them.
I found most of them in my public library.
Yeah, the library has
They
them.
had at least 2/3 of the library down.
So be reading, read. All right, Alyssa, we're ready for you. Who's setting the timer? Molly's setting the timer. Carol has a question.
On the tutoring journals, I had some people ask questions, but I don't know how to respond to them. How do you respond back to them?
You can reply to someone's journal.
But how? So I've never.
There's a reply button, or there should be, and if not, I'll enable it. There should be a reply button to the journal. You don't have to read the journals, by the way, but they're so good. If you have 5 minutes to read some of the journals that are being posted, and the questions really are fantastic of the things that you're thinking about and working on. So, and your tutoring situations, you're learning more in these situations than I'm just super excited for you. So there should be a reply option. I'll check the box if I haven't enabled it. So I'll grab and look
wanted
at
some
that.
help, but I was like,
You could also email her.
she knows great.
So you can email them and have you can email them. So just look them up and they're right there. Or you can email me and say, I want to email Brent. Is that okay? All right, Molly's going to set the timer. Okay, no, all right, don't get started yet. So Alyssa's going to cool us down. Are we all giving Alyssa her attention? Okay, what do you need us to do?
Okay, I need you guys to get into 5 groups. I'm gonna tell you what we're doing first. So I have like 5 different pieces of paper, and y'all can pick one of them. And on it is some sort of like machine or like something, and you have to work together and make the machine. And like we have 2 minutes to think about it, and then come in and we're gonna guess. It's like charades, but it's not like you can't have one person doing it. You have to have everybody working.
We're going to make the machine with our bodies. Okay, like if it was a cotton gin, I don't know what a cotton gin does. Like if we do it one way, like if it were like oh, that would be a good thing for the cotton gin.
But you have to you can't just, you would have to make it look
Like me and you
oh,
would have
like if it wasn't
the water. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, so just count off 1 through 5 because I have 5 groups.
Not sexual.
2, 3, 4, 1.
Casey got in trouble.
4. She did so. 1.
2, 3.
4.
1. Oh, like 1, 2,
3, 4, 5. Okay, so just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got like 2
Ready,
minutes.
ones?
Ready? I'm gonna press start.
Okay, Molly's pressing start. Oh, who's up?
I need 1 minute. Are y'all ready? Alyssa, like not, can you make noise?
Yes,
Yeah, but not like words, just like the noise of the like, can we
Yeah, all right, I'll do this. I'll put my arms in here and then just like match up.
I know that like 30 seconds to start. Okay. Just said 30 seconds. Alright guys, time. Alright, I need y'all, you guys can just like stay in your groups. We're gonna start in group 1 and you have to guess what their machine is.
We need some space.
Oh, are we gonna make your room?
Yes. Do we say 1, 2, 3? Oh, they need to see us from the side. Okay.
We can turn this up.
No, we're good.
You guys
We're
ready?
still we need to move that stuff, because aren't we moving?
Oh, we don't.
Okay. I thought we'd be mobile. So tell us when.
Just go whenever y'all ready. Ready?
Airplane?
Yeah.
Okay, number 3.
Alright.
All right. Oh, you're doing it back there? Hold on, I want to be able to see.
Ready?
Helicopter.
Windmill.
A bench.
See you.
A horse drawn carriage.
A bus.
Yeah.
You should have them play all games on
Are you ready?
But we can't clear on the floor.
Yeah.
Speed bump.
Grass. Steamroller.
Lawnmower.
Pavement.
Do it again. Okay, question 1. How did this help our community? Teamwork. How else? Critical thinking. What else?
That's our primer.
Oh, thank you. Critical thinking. What else?
You kind of had to get in front and like, not embarrass yourself, but kind of just whatever.
Break the ice. Inhibitions had to be lowered because and it was easier because you were with a team. How else does it help our community to do an activity like that?
Didn't think outside the box.
You absolutely had to think outside the box. How does this prepare you for learning?
Oh, you could pick machines about like social studies, like you're learning like all
Like the
machines,
cotton gin.
all machines from like the 17th.
Clearly we're not doing this. Were there machines in the 1700s? I don't know. How do you carve out the wheel? Fire. How else would it get your kids ready for learning? Yeah, they're out of their seat. For me, this is a visual literacy activity, if there ever was one. Vocabulary, visual literacy, this is a fantastic way to encourage visual literacy with your kids. So let's say you do have a kid with special needs in the class who perhaps is in a wheelchair or in a walker. How can that kid participate in an activity like this?
You've been the one driving the bus.
Making sure. So when you're a teacher, remember you're a teacher, you're always thinking. Making sure that every kid in your class can participate. So you have pre-selected the groups. It's not always random. So excellent. Thank you, Alyssa. There's our runner-upper. Casey, thank you. Excellent. Okay, so my news to you. Please read your chapter that's coming up. I'll get tutoring journal number 3 up. The tutoring journals are not by week because many of you will not make, some of you won't make 10 sessions. Some of you are just starting this week. So you start at 1. Okay, you start at 1. They build. They're cumulative. Okay. If you need me, just email. If you have any questions, anything for the good of the group. Thank you for your kind attention today. I thought that was wonderful. I was a little dubious because I didn't set it up, and I thought it was fantastic. So thank you.